Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Illona Anderson, and I am an owner of Financial Freedom Advocates, which is a consumer bankruptcy law firm in Miami, Florida. My firm helps people file for Chapter 13 and Chapter 7 bankruptcy and discharge or restructure their debts, therefore gaining their financial freedom. And for those people who are not candidates for bankruptcy, or perhaps they're just not ready to file bankruptcy, we offer additional services such as debt defense and debt settlement. So today we're going to talk about all things, well, maybe not all things, but some things financial. We're going to talk about credit scores, what to do about mountain debt, what options consumers help and how to navigate this landscape when there's so many options available, and just
It's 7 o'clock.
digital literacy. So I'm going to introduce my guests. Today I have Chris Colston and Andrea Grillon. Andrea is actually an attorney with my firm. She's an attorney with Financial Freedom Advocates, and she's a proud veteran of the United States Air Force. And after being honorably discharged from the Air Force, Andrea attended law school. And then for the past 10 years, she has been focusing on consumer rights and on helping people regain their financial freedom. And Chris is an owner or the owner of Second Chance Credit, which is a company that developed and fine-tuned a system for improving consumers' credit scores in the shortest amount of time. So by helping people improve their credit scores, Chris helps people achieve peace of mind and better quality of life. So Chris, do you want to tell us a little bit more about your company?
You did such a great job, Ilona. I don't know if I can top that, but thank you very much, lady. She was amazing. I love it. But thank you very much, ladies, for having me here with you guys today. And to speak about financial literacy and our company. We started our company in 2001, and the reason why we started the company in 2001 is when I started seeing the big difference of financial freedom and financial education. I saw a gigantic disparity in purchasing power. When someone would purchase the same item, right, and then go ahead and finance it, and a person with higher credit score was paying less money per month than the another person that had a lower credit score. So I was like thinking, why do the rich pay lesser than the people that have less amount of money? I don't understand that. So that's when I started diving in and understanding how the financial institution worked. Everything was based upon those 3 digits. And ladies and gentlemen, it's not our weight, it's our credit score. And they fluctuate each month, just like our weight. But sometimes, as we don't want to see our weight go up, we want to see our weight go down, and it's reversed for the credit scores. We want to see the credit scores go up. We don't want to see it go down, but there's so many factors that make that happen, either going up or going down. So this is why we're so passionate, Ilona and Andrea, with financial literacy to our clients. And this is why we've been in business now for 21 years.
Well, Chris, I love that analogy about weight. I've never heard it before, but it makes complete sense. In a way, it fluctuates in a way that, we want it to go a certain direction, but not the other direction. So I think a lot of our listeners might be wondering, well, we have two potentially competing services here. We have a law firm that's offering bankruptcy and debt defense, and we have a company that's offering credit restoration, credit cleanup services. So a lot of people might think that these two services are contradictory, right? You either need one or the other. But really, in reality, they are complementary, and a lot of people could benefit from using both services. So I would like both of you to please comment on that. And Andre, if you could start, please.
Yes, so I absolutely love being a bankruptcy attorney. I love being able to offer people a fresh start when they think that, all hope is gone. People get into debt. A lot of different reasons people do get into debt, just mostly that life happens, people lose jobs, they get sick, they have to help a family member. There's many different reasons that people fall into debt. And I absolutely love being able to offer them the opportunity to get a fresh start through the bankruptcy code. But after our services, and sometimes even before bankruptcy, maybe bankruptcy isn't right for you at this time, maybe your debts are small but still unmanageable, then I believe that, you know, Chris's company and those things that can help you get your credit score would be more appropriate than actually filing for bankruptcy. But after bankruptcy, you do want to be able to, you know, not go back into the same situation and to learn those things that will help you to achieve and maintain a good credit score. And that's where Chris's company comes in really as complementary to bankruptcy. And it's definitely something that you're going to want to look at. Too often, I don't know why, since credit plays such a big role in our society and in our way of life, why we are not educated about it in schools, you know, in a high school. And so many people, for many people, credit is just this really, this thing that they just like, they have no idea what it's about, how to maintain it, how to achieve it, and what it's all about. So I love companies like Second Chance and especially Chris's company, where we not only can give you a fresh start, but what are you going to do with that fresh start? Are you going to just, you know, go back to doing the same things and still, you know, be bewildered by the whole credit process? You're going to want a company, Second Chance, to teach you about credit literacy. So I do believe that the two services are absolutely complementary.
I think so as well, Andrea, and thank you very much for for the kind words. For me, the way I look at it, and to answer one of your questions, why they don't teach financial literacy in school. The main reason why they don't teach it, and I think it's disgusting. Like whenever I do a public presentation, a public speak, I say this, I open up with this. The United States of America runs on debt. Always remember that. It's structured like that. So the more debt we have, the more that we incur, the more money they're making. So all those high rises that you see, we pay for them because we get trapped into this. We cannot buy an automobile if we don't have debt. We can't buy a home if we don't have debt. We can't have a high credit score if we don't have debt. Right. So for me, it's like, you know, I used to play sports. I used to play football. So I'm a big football guy. And how can you play a sport if you don't know the rules of the game, of the sport, and be successful? How? It's impossible. You could be the best athlete, Illona, and I put you playing basketball. But if you don't know the rules of the game, how are you going to be successful? 0% chance. So we are trapped into this. And thank God that they have services like myself or bankruptcy that we can actually cut the umbilical cord and start new. But sometimes it's way too far out. We have done the damage. But I love what you said there, Andrea, like, how can we prevent this again from happening? Because correct me if I'm wrong, you could do a bankruptcy again 8 years afterwards, right?
Exactly.
So it's like, if we don't teach that community where they messed up, now we're trapping them for them to fall again. And that's one of the things that I preach with my clients. I don't want to see you again for this. So we take our time to educate them on the faults, on the pitfalls. And Andrea and Illona, everybody makes mistakes. Let's not be hypocrites. You know what I mean? Everybody makes mistakes. Curveballs always happen to us. And that's okay. It's what we're going to do after those curveballs hit us. And then this is why our services are so important. I have a lot of clients, ladies, that when they come to me, I always ask them, what goals are you trying to achieve with your credit and your finances? When I look at the credit, if it's something so severe that my firm cannot, handle, or that the goals of the client will not be met by that time, I refer them to bankruptcy because I believe, let's cut the umbilical cord. Sometimes you got to do something very drastic to shake someone up or for that person to get shooken up. But also after the bankruptcy, we can work on the credit and help them reestablish. Because like you ladies know, there's banks that are looking for those clients after bankruptcy. And the reason why those banks are looking at those clients is because they want to charge them a high interest rate. They want to charge them a lot of money. But if we start training our clients, okay, you did the bankruptcy, it's not illegal. That's what I tell people. Doing a bankruptcy is not illegal. It's actually, if you look at a credit report, it says United States bankruptcy. Okay, it's not illegal. It's something to rehab. But the United States did it in a way to say, okay, you got fat with debt, you exploded, let's cut the umbilical cord, but let's get you back into debt. No, 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 no. We're not going to do that. If we need to do a bankruptcy, let's cut the umbilical cord, let's learn our lesson, let's get back on a better path. Because I have had clients that have done bankruptcies, ladies, 7 years later, 8 years later, they have 800 credit score, they're living their best life. And they tell me, Chris, you know what? The bankruptcy was the best lesson for me. Because it made me look that everything that I was buying was garbage. You know, I'm doing a presentation on May 5th. And the lady asked me, he goes, what tip are you going to give for this presentation? And I was like, stop buying shit. For real. And how can we track, excuse my word, the shit that we're buying? Look at your credit card statement.
Right.
Look at your credit card statements. You know, we need to have a financial app that we can log in and see all of our finances day in and day out. Because they get out of control, ladies. And sometimes when they get out of control, divorces. You know, we represent a lot of family attorneys. You know, when the couples get so much into debt that they file for divorce and then boom, they're there in bankruptcy. And then they think that there's no way out. But you know what? Thank God, you know, for financial freedom advocates and for second chance credit, that it teaches our clients that there is a better way. But you got to take the first step.
Absolutely. You know, and one point I want to make is one of the missions of our firm is to break the stigma of bankruptcy, right? Because you talked about playing by the rules and, you know, you can't play the game if you don't know the rules. Well, financial bankruptcy is a mechanism that really, you know, puts the debtor in the driver's seat, because the credit industry, as you know, has obtained every possible advantage through legislation, through lobbying, you know. So bankruptcy is one of the few things that debtors can do to actually regain control and get out of the situation to where, you know, they're in debt for the rest of our life. And there's no shame or guilt about it. I mean, it's one of the best things you can do for your family, because you can get back to being a productive member of the society and taking care of your family. I mean, we live in a society, let's be open, we live in a society that encourages risk. And we live in a society that encourages debt. So sometimes that risk pans out and sometimes it doesn't, you know, and if it doesn't work out, then you have to be able to start fresh. You have to be able to have a second chance at life so you can go back to taking care of your family and being a productive member of society. So Andrea, I actually would like you to talk a little bit more about the stigma of bankruptcy and also some of the myths and misconceptions. One of them being that if you file bankruptcy, your credit score is ruined.
So I always tell folks that this is not your grandmother's bankruptcy, you know, because I believe those myths, they actually came from somewhat of truth, like most myths do, in that way back in, you know, 30, 40 years ago, if you filed bankruptcy, during that time, there might have only been about 3 or 4 creditors, lenders. You would have the banks that would do it, and you would have, you know, like the Bank of Broward County or the Bank of Miami-Dade, and you'd have SunTrust and maybe one other major bank. And so, yes, if you filed bankruptcy during that time, then the other banks probably would not lend to you. And people like to say, oh, it's 7 years, 8 years, or whatever. They wouldn't lend to you anymore. So you did have to wait. Today, as Chris spoke about, we have so many creditors out there who are waiting, who their profit plan is to enroll as many people as they can into their profit scheme, and so that they can make money. They're not giving you credit because you're a nice person. They're not giving you credit because you're a good person. They're giving you credit because they want to make money off of you. As Chris alluded to, that, you know, this is the whole profit making scheme. And there's so many out there. It used to be, just a few banks. Now there are banks going up almost every week. A new bank pops up, and I've never heard of these banks, but they're lenders. And as a matter of fact, many of our major lenders don't have actual, brick and mortar buildings. They're on the internet. And so you can get most of your credit just on the internet. You never even have to go to a building like you used to, during your grandmother's time. So lenders are not going to are not going to just allow you to just sit out. So it's just not that way anymore. It's just not the truth that once you file bankruptcy, you'll never get credit again. As a matter of fact, once you file a Chapter 7, which is the quickest, most expedient chapter for a consumer, it only takes about 3 months from beginning to end. Right after that, you're going to get tons of credit card offers, because like Chris said, now they can charge you a higher percentage interest rate. And you don't owe anyone any money anymore. All of your unsecured debt is gone. You've gotten a discharge. You are a prime candidate for, a credit company to come in and swoop in and say, hey, why don't you use this credit card? And not because you're nice and not because you're, good looking or anything, but because they want to make money off of you. And so that whole thing about you never getting credit again is just not true. In fact, we have companies that advertise to bankruptcy firms that say, hey, the day your client files bankruptcy, let them know we will finance the car for them, because again, they are not going to just let you sit out, of the whole, American credit game just because you file bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is a right that you have as an American citizen or resident, and it was enacted by the federal government to give you a fresh start. If it meant that you would never get credit again, then it would just be a lie, and it's just not meant that way. It's meant to give you a fresh start. And as soon as you get a discharge in a Chapter 7, you're going to get credit card offers right away. You're going to be able to use that credit wisely, which is why you want to talk with second chance credit, is you want to use credit cards to build your credit score. People think that credit cards are to, go and buy crap, as a better, my word instead of the Chris's word. Instead of buying crap, you have to use your credit cards in a way that will build your credit score. And I tell people, I tell them, basically for me, there are 3 really rules of using credit cards. You need to accept the credit cards, but then you need to always, pay on time as though it's a religion. You need to always use less than 1/3 of your credit, and you need to always pay a little bit more than the minimum amount that's due. So things like that, right after you file bankruptcy, within a year's time, if you're doing those things and you're enrolled in a company like Second Chance Credit that's teaching you about your spending habits, that's teaching you about credit, in a year and a year and a half, definitely, depending on where your credit score started at, you should be back in the fair to good credit score range. And that's the absolute truth. I've seen it happen time and time again. But you do have to have that, like we were saying, you do have to have that education afterwards. It was meant to give you a second chance, a fresh start. But if you're not starting out, thereafter with the tools that you need and the understanding and the knowledge that you need to have that second chance, then, you've really done everything for naught.
I agree with you. If I can add a bit more there, ladies, like the analogy of learning how to play the game, right? The playbook. Mm-hmm. Yes, you did the bankruptcy. Perfect. You have cut the embedded core. Perfect. Yes, you're not going to be getting the prime credit cards, or mm-hmm. you're not going to be getting the prime interest rates, or you're not going to be getting the prime lending for the automobile that you want. Mm-hmm. That's okay. We need to show them again that we are better than our past. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to get those credit cards. We're going to showcase them that we can use it, pay it off. Use it, pay it off. You do not pay interest rate if you pay off your credit cards in full every month. And I'll give you a big tip, ladies, and everyone that's watching this. What I do personally, every Saturday, I sit outside, drink my cup of coffee, and I look at my credit card statement. I see how much money I use for that week. Sometimes I go overboard. I'm telling you this honestly. Sometimes like, whoa, oh my, pump the brakes, Chris. And sometimes I behave, and I'm like, you know what? Wow, bringing in lunch from home actually helped out. Look at this. I have a little bit more money.
Right, right.
But I make payments every Saturday. I send them $100, $200, $300, whatever it is. So I keep myself in check so that at month end, I don't have a $500, $1,000, $2,000 bill. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't have this money. And now I have to pay interest on it. But to go back again for the automobile purchase, you know, that's my background. I'm a big automobile guy. I started working in an automobile dealership when I was 18 years old. So I'm very passionate about cars. I tell individuals, if you do the bankruptcy or your credit is poor, right, set up a strategic plan. What are we going to do afterwards? We did the bankruptcy. We're going to start fixing now the credit after the bankruptcy. If you need to purchase an automobile, you may get a very high interest rate. But in 6 months, 9 months, or a year, after you have made all those payments on time, after we started working on your credit score will be so good that we can refinance it and get a lower interest rate, and now you're saving money. But also, ladies, now in the credit report, it's going to show that an automobile was paid off within 6 months, 9 months, or 12 months. So imagine how good you look now, right? You came from a bankruptcy, so you messed up, but now you're that good? Yes, we are this good. Because now someone is teaching us about this game plan. Now we know the rules to the game, and now we're not allowing the game to play us. We are playing the game.
Absolutely. That's really good advice. And I think one thing that should be mentioned as part of that financial planning is also savings, you know, because a lot of people end up in dire financial situation. I mean, yes, you know, there's overspending, right? And taking advantage of the credit available, but there's also life happens and there's life's emergencies. There's medical bills, you know, usually one emergency room or one hospital bill can just wipe out somebody's, you know, savings and drive them into bankruptcy. You know, the pandemic hit and a lot of people were forced, for example, to put their rent on credit cards, you know, so unexpected things happen, but unexpected things are also part of life. So being able to have that financial literacy to where you can not only manage your debt and credit, but also save so that when that medical bill hits or when, you know, job loss happens, then you can tap into your savings as opposed to having to file bankruptcy. That, you know, that goes along with the planning.
Illona, I'm going to say
Absolutely.
something that is really sad. Only 40% of Americans, so I'm talking about the whole United States, do not have $1,000 in their checking or savings accounts. 40%. That is crazy. So if a little curveball, not a big one, a little curveball gets thrown, they're crippled. But also, ladies, $41 billion was accrued in credit card debt just in February. $41 billion. Plus also, right, let's not forget where we're at. The inflation right now.
Yeah.
So where are people going to get money? Ladies and gentlemen, we need to stop buying crap. You know, we need to, because we don't have any money in our bank account. You know, we don't. So we need to be wise. So like Illona said, we can't get ourselves into that pitfall.
So one thing I wanted to ask is, I think one of the most stressful things about being in debt is being hounded by collectors and creditors and receiving those calls. So I'd like to ask both of you in terms of, you know, first, Chris, how your firm can help ward off creditors and collectors, and then Andrea, what legal mechanisms are available as well. So Chris, could you start?
So one of the things I tell them, if they're calling you, you know, you don't have to pick up the phone call, right? If they're harassing you, remember, they cannot call your employer. They cannot call your family members. They cannot harass you in a big way. But my big advice is like, contact financial freedom advocates. Contact them. They're the attorneys. They're the people that could go in and fight for you. I can fight for you in the credit side, but in that spectrum there, you need to hire an attorney, and financial freedom is the people.
I may be
Right.
biased, but I think it's excellent advice.
Yeah, call us. Um, Well, as a bankruptcy attorney, one of the best things about bankruptcy is as soon as you file, there is an automatic stay that is put into place that forbids or prohibits the creditors from contacting you any further or advancing any type of collection activity. That means even if you're in a lawsuit, if you're in foreclosure, for example, and you are in the court in Florida, it's a judicial procedure. So they have to go to court in order to get an order to sell your home. But it could be the day before the sale of your home. And if you file bankruptcy at that time, then automatically the sale is canceled. So they can't sell your home. The same thing goes with the calls and everything. Another thing that we do in debt settlement, our debt negotiations and handling debts at Financial Freedom is we can send out cease and desist letters, letting the creditors know that we represent the debtor, and we can send out letters asking for them to verify their debts and how much and things like that. And so once you start doing some legal methods, once you get an attorney involved, they are not supposed to continue to contact you because you now have a legal representative, and they should be going through your legal representative. But like Chris says, I tell people all the time, well, don't answer. We can block numbers and things like that. You don't have to answer. But one of the best things about filing bankruptcy is as soon as you file, all of the calls have to stop. And if they don't stop, if they do try to continue, the creditors try to collect, that's an offense that's punishable with a big fine by the federal government. So most of the creditors know that. And so it's a really good mechanism for just cutting out all of the harassment and legally. And even before you get into bankruptcy, there are some legal letters that can be sent out that should also prohibit, that do prohibit them from contacting the debtor themselves.
Yes.
And if you're not ready to file bankruptcy, another option is to hire an attorney to try to settle that debt for you. And if you've been sued by a creditor, our law firm, for example, and there's other law firms that do it, can file a notice of appearance in that lawsuit and try to negotiate that debt on your behalf so that you don't get a judgment. And even if you do get a judgment, we still can negotiate post-judgment. So
absolutely. And we're really good at doing that. So if a person isn't quite ready to file bankruptcy, but they're being sued, we're really good at getting settlements for our clients because we're bankruptcy attorneys. And the other attorneys on the other side know that we have probably spoken to our clients about bankruptcy and that it's better for them to give us a good deal, an affordable payment plan for our clients rather than, they'd rather get something than get nothing. So we're really good at getting good deals for our clients because sometimes, we don't just throw everyone into bankruptcy. That's not it. If the debt is small enough that it's just best, like Chris says, to just cut the umbilical cord, are large enough so that you just go ahead and cut it, then bankruptcy is a good deal. But if it's a small debt, something that you might be able to manage on a payment plan, then we're very good at getting them to reduce the principal of the amount that they claim is owed and allowing our clients to have affordable payment plans.
Okay. So I think the biggest takeaway from our discussion today is don't suffer in silence, right? You have options available to you. If you have debt, you're not alone, and there's professionals out there that can help you. They can help you through education. They can help you by cleaning up your credit report and improving your credit score. They can help you by negotiating down your debts. They can help you by going after creditors that are harassing you and violating the law. They can help you by restructuring your debt through Chapter 13 bankruptcy or discharging your debt through Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So talk to a professional. Don't suffer in silence. Talk to financial freedom advocates, talk to Second Chance Credit, talk to the professional of your choice, but know that there are options available to you. And Chris and Andrea, any closing thoughts?
If I can start with this, and Andrea, like you said so many great things, and I just want to say thank you for this. There's the stigma, right? I want to talk about stigmas there, with bankruptcy or with bad credit. The only stigma that you should have is that you're not doing something to get better. You know, we're seeing now mental health is a big thing. And it's a big thing because now it's just come up above the surface. But how many people have suffered that because of financial problems, right? You owe it to yourself and you owe it to your family to rebound. Either rebound with the bankruptcy or rebound with your credit being fixed. But you owe that to yourself. You don't have to stay in the same stagnant place. You don't. Get up, do something about it. Yes, you may suffer for a bit, right? But the future is going to be much, much brighter because you got fine professionals behind you and because you did something about it. You did not stay as the victim. You actually came out and you became better because you are better than this. That's my closing words on this.
The worst thing you can do is do nothing.
Absolutely. And just to add to that in closing, it's so unfortunate that, people who are hardworking, who get up every day, who go to work, who have just gotten, where life just happened to them. Maybe they got divorced, maybe they got sick, maybe they had to help a child, maybe whatever the life circumstance that happened, and they're suffering, and they think that there's no way out. I tell people it's unfortunate that poor people, hardworking Americans like yourself and I, who go to work every day, don't have this education, or they think that bankruptcy, oh no, I can't do that. We get very proud. Rich people, they avail themselves of bankruptcy. They understand very well when it's time to file bankruptcy, cut your losses so you can start over again. Rich people file bankruptcy, maybe not Chapter 7 or Chapter 13, which are for consumers, but for their businesses and so on and so forth, all the time. And that's how they keep their wealth. That's how they rebuild their wealth and everything else, because they understand that the mechanism that bankruptcy is, that there is no shame. There's no shame in that. It is just a financial tool that, was set up by the federal government for you to use when things have gotten over, when over your head, when you've gotten in over your head. Cut the umbilical cord. Let's get you started again so you can get back into the economy, so you can get some more debt, so we can all just keep moving on in this machine that we do. So I agree. It's unfortunate that people do suffer in silence, and you just don't have to. But that's one thing I love about being a bankruptcy attorney. If I get a single mom who's like, I don't know what I'm going to do, I'm happy to say, I have a solution for you. I have a solution. And so with that, I would encourage folks to contact us at Financial Freedom Advocates or Second Chance Credit. Don't suffer in silence. There are definitely ways to help you to get back and to get a fresh start.
Yeah, being in debt is just a point in time. It's just a point in time. And as Chris said, you have to move forward. There's no moral component to it. There's all kinds of reasons why people end up in those situations, but you owe it, as Chris said, to yourself, to your family, to get back on your feet, and there's solutions that are available. So I think this has been a wonderful discussion. Thank you so much, Andrea, and thank you, Chris, for making yourselves available. Chris, how can we contact, or how can our listeners contact you?
So our phone number is 305-951-8381. That is 305-951-8381. Our website is second, that is 2nd, chancecredit.net, 2nd, chancecredit.net. You can also see us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and also all of
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. And of course, Andrea and I can be contacted at Financial Freedom Advocates, financialfreedomadvocates.com, 786-668-6688. And we're also on social media. So thank you so much and have a wonderful day.